Welcome to the Level 1 Lounge, where we give our uneducated take on everything and everything gaming. We've got our guest host with us here as well today, Monster. You'll know him, of course, from In My House podcast. It's going to be his last podcast with us at this point in time, as he was a temporary member. So sorry to see you leave, bud, but we understand you have quite the hectic schedule.
Chrono Trigger lives on. Chrono Trigger lives on.
Lives on in our heart.
Chrono Trigger.
No, it's been a blast.
Well, you're always welcome back, of course. That invite's going to be open there for you. We, of course, have Rider Pride. Hey, I got it right today. Hey, Irish Bandit Rob.
Yep.
And we have our new host here, Cold Steel Canuck.
How's it going?
So we're going to get right into it. First of all, we're got some news as well going forward for the podcast as of next week. We're going to have a little bit more emphasis on gaming news. So stay tuned for that. We're excited to be able to try that new format out a little bit. We're still going to be doing these one-offs once in a while as well. So, have a conversation about certain games and, our favorites. And of course, we're still going to have our intro questions. So that being said, now that we've gotten that out of the way, we'll get into the intro question here. So last week we missed out on doing our podcast due to scheduling conflicts, of course, with Easter. I'm hoping everybody had a good Easter. So International Women's Day also landed last week, and I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to have a question of what is everyone's favorite female protagonist / female playable character in a video game. So let's start with our guest host here, Monster.
Jerk. It's like, hey, did you narrow down that list you made? Absolutely not. I'd say looking at the list I have 4 names for sure on it, but I think easy answer could be Commander Shepard from Mass Effect.
Yes.
I mean, you could go male or
Fem
female
Shep.
for your Commander Shepard, but Fem Shep I think
Fem
is
Shep.
the popular choice.
Fem
There's also Chell, Portal 2. I had Jesse Faden from Control, and as of recent, Saga Anderson from Alan Wake 2. There's actually a lot of great female leads in video games, but I'm sticking with my guns. I'm going Fem Shep, Commander Shepard from Mass Effect.
Oh,
Good pick. Good pick.
I'm also going with Fem Shep.
And it was nice having Cold Steel Canuck. He is now off the podcast.
All right. Yeah.
All right, we're going to go over to
That's
Irish Bandit. We're going to go over to Irish Bandit Rob here next.
Okay, well, I've got a bone to pick with you, Maverick, on this one because
Get 'em.
who
Get
I
'em.
would put as my favorite female character, she is 100% playable. She is 100% one of the main protagonists. She may not be the main protagonist, but she is one of the main protagonists. Play as her, but whatever. You came up
We
with
get
these
it. You want to play with
I
her,
will-
but who is it?
Well, I mean, we'll leave that question alone. So, going under the because I'm really salty about this. Going under your rules, I will pick Aya Bray from the player side E. She is an amazing
pick.
character. She playable protagonist, main protagonist. But Aya is a fantastic character. She's smart, beautiful. She's quick on her feet. Really does well with the mitochondrial dealt with. Aya Bray is my pick. I can't take one to.
Put him in a body bag, Rob. Put him in a body bag.
Hurt Locker.
Okay, well, first of all, we all know that you would say Aerith. I was just hoping. I was just hoping as well that we all know that there's Aerith is always going to be your favorite, and I understand and I respect that. I was just hoping to hear a little bit more about another one from you
Well,
as
you
well.
got it.
That-
So
All right, Ryder, how about yourself?
All right, well, I'm gonna go dip back a little bit further into the OG a bit. We're gonna talk about female protagonists, especially one that's that's been in games this long. We're gonna go all the way back to Metroid, and we're gonna talk about
Oh,
Samus.
Samus.
So,
Yes.
I mean, yeah, there's and much to my chagrin, yeah, I really had to narrow this list down in a hurry. So, I may be a little bit more elite than Monster Hospital did here, and got my list whittled down to a single one. But no, but I mean, I'm in full agreement with Monster. Yeah, there's so many that you can put on that list for female characters,
Just
female
reading the whole
protagonists.
time, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, no, you could basically, yeah. I mean, I could pull out like a whole scroll of names on top of that, and roll that down the stairs, and we could be here for hours. But no, yeah, no, 100% Samus for as many games as she's been in, all the way right from the original Metroid up to what's the most recent Metroid Prime game that was released? I don't even remember now.
Metroid Dread was the last Metroid.
Metroid
Yeah,
Dread,
Metroid Dread, yeah.
So yeah, so
I love that. I
many
love
games.
to this day. I will always love that she can like curl up into a ball and just do whatever. I mean, if I try doing that, I'm going to give myself an effing hernia. So,
um, so yeah, so between all the Metroid games, she's also a really awesome character on Smash Bros. So yeah, that's my pick.
All right, Canuck, you're up.
oh boy, where do I start? I'd like to thank the Academy. No, no, the no. I if I had to go with famous or like favorite, excuse me, female protagonist. Yeah, I mean, FemShep's already been said, but it, I don't know. I mean, I've always had a liking for Lara Croft, like Tomb Raider, like all the way back with like the polygon kind of stuff. I don't know. It's always, um, I've always had a favorite because like that was one of my first PlayStation games was Tomb Raider, and I don't know. I played it so much that actually the disc like just stopped reading. So I don't know. That's one of my main favorites. I mean, if I had to, I mean, they're not really main protagonists, these ones, but if I had to say like any female characters that I'd say um like Sarah Leon's from Fallout 3, Brotherhood of Steel, like Elder Lion's daughter. I'd say she's pretty kick-ass for sure. I mean, like she leads a whole platoon of like mech out people, so I'd say she's pretty awesome. Um, I don't really know who else would be like a top contender other than that, but like I mean, there's so many, but out of those two, I'd say I don't know, just always been a favorite. So.
Well, you kind of stole mine. I actually had it down to two. One of them, of course, being Lara Croft, and the other, since you've already kind of mentioned her and you brought her up, the other one that came across my mind that I really enjoyed playing with her as well was Aloy from Horizon.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, there's a lot of similarities I found too with Laura and with Aloy. I know it's not really apparent. I know one's fighting dinosaurs, one's fighting, fighting people and finding artifacts and stuff, but they're both trying to uncover the past and understand, an issue that's ahead of them. Uh, so since you've said Laura, I'm going to go with Aloy then under the circumstances. But Laura was actually on the very, very top of my list. I was trying to decide between the two of them. And I thought that Laura actually, the Tomb Raider series, I would argue, has a much bigger impact on gaming today than what Horizon does. Not
Yeah.
saying that Horizon isn't good. I absolutely love the series, but there's more of an impact with Lara Croft for sure.
Well, hey, I loved the whole thing with like Tomb Raider and one of the games where you could like go back to her mansion and like test out all your weaponry and other stuff, and that creepy ass butler would follow you around everywhere you went. Just I don't know. I've always was like scared of him as like a kid when I was playing. It just creeped me out. I'm like, this guy follows me like everywhere and just pops out from nowhere. So
Yeah.
But
Dude, funnily enough, I think I spent more time at the mansion than I did in the actual game.
yeah, right.
Games are surprisingly tough.
Dude, so good.
Right? Yeah.
It's so good. It
So
was really
we'll-
spacious for what it was. So
Yeah, we'll move on to the news that we've got as well. So we'll move right along here. So now that the console's powered up, let's move over to level 1. So the first thing that I wanted to discuss as well that came up, of course, everyone knows that I absolutely love Witcher 3. It's one of my favorite games ever made. Put it on the list.
yes. Oh, I
I'm
love
still
that.
mad that it
I mean,
lost last week.
Some would say Super Mario World's better than The
But-
Witcher 3.
We're it won.
wait,
It
wait,
lost.
wait.
It
Since I'm
lost
brand
to
new
a
to
dice
this,
roll. It lost
since
to a
I'm brand
dice.
new to this, who kicked out Witcher 3's ass? Like who
Super
won
Mario
this?
World.
Super Mario World.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That's
Hey,
that's gonna be a game set match regardless.
Anyways, so we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about the upcoming game by Projekt Red, Witcher 4. And they've said it is not going to be a Witcher 3 in new clothing. That they want to be able to push new boundaries and explore new fields. So, and he's saying that CD's Projekt Red's most developed project at this time. They've actually moved 400 people onto this project, and they're now working on Witcher 4. It's working under the development code name Polaris, and there's talk that it could be seen as early as 2025. I'm hoping that that's true, that we're going to see a 2025 release.
It's got my
But
vote.
I
It's got my vote.
I don't know what you guys think about this, but I'm thinking we're more likely to see it with the next console generation, is what I'm kind of expecting.
I mean, with what happened to Cyberpunk, where there were like people, pushing for that release, like to the point where they were sending death threats and whatnot, which is insane, by the way. Like the fact that they were doing that for Cyberpunk and then they rushed it out because people couldn't handle it, that it didn't come out. I mean, I really hope that the gaming community doesn't crap their pants if they give a bit of a pushback saying, oh well, we can't release it in 2025, at least 2027. You know what, the main thing is, as long as they release it, that's what I'm happy about, and it gives them extra time to polish it, you know what I mean, and not create a complete travesty, I guess.
No, and
That's a really good point. I think
Yeah.
my thing is don't get caught quoting saying we're going to do something new and brand new, because you said it was
Yeah.
Cyberpunk and you had to keep pushing it and you had to keep pushing it, and eventually money
Which was
stops
pushing
and
people's
you
buttons
have to
now.
put the game out.
keep that in mind. He said this to a group of shareholders, because that could change.
Maverick, you said it. It's gonna get quoted. This is it.
True.
It's a call many people could be on, and they're gonna be like, "Well, he said
Yeah.
it's gonna be better." Just don't get caught where you got caught before. Like, I think you would learn pretty quick that, like, okay, Cyberpunk launched in a state that was bad, and it just came to a
Well,
point where you're at the finish line. Death threats or not, they had to
we
put the game out when they did.
we do know it's not going to be Geralt, and there's a brand new Witcher school that they're introducing. I believe it's the School of the Lynx, which has no addition into the lore right now. So I'm really excited for this one. I know that I'm not the only one in this group that's excited for it, but
I know they probably won't do it, but I'm hoping, like they did with the Cyberpunk, like Phantom Liberty, if they bring back Idris Elba as a voice actor or that whole motion capture thing, I'm all for it, because he's just awesome.
I'm thinking that we're going to have a customizable character. Create your own Witcher.
That might be good, yeah.
Yeah.
The
Maybe as long as they
figure
do-
that you'd want to have customization, yeah, but
I mean, as long as they do
I mean,
something with the
like-
combat, because I mean, Monster and I know.
Combat's no good. The combat's no good.
I can't even.
There were
We're
so many
moving on to the
different
next.
fighting
We're
styles.
moving on to the next piece of news.
there were
here.
so many different fighting
Um,
styles.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you on that one, Connect. But this is going to end up being a brawl if we keep going on that. So
Where's my popcorn?
the next piece of news is that there's going to be a PlayStation showcase May 24th. That's going to be happening, and also just we've had a discussion about it. We are aiming to do a reaction to this showcase. So we're going to give our reaction. At least that's our plan. The one game that I am thinking that we'll probably see more on is Silent Hill 2. And I am thinking this is going to be the time that we're going to see a announcement for Ghost of Tsushima 2. At least that's what I'm hoping for. I would love to see some gameplay for that. Is there anything that you guys are hoping to see with that showcase?
Not
Whatever
really.
you give us.
I mean, obviously, we're not going to see anything Final Fantasy related for at least a couple of years, 3-4 years.
Yeah, give or
so
take.
obviously
They're not going to
no-
drop any hints either. So
No, nothing like that. Yeah, I don't know. I've been kind of looking around some of the some games that we haven't seen or heard from in a while. Yeah, there's really nothing out there that kind of jumps to me that I would expect to show up specifically for the PlayStation showcase. The only one that could possibly come to mind, considering it's been long enough now, would be a new Kingdom Hearts game. But even then, considering the storyline, I don't really know if that would be the case. They would have to take it probably in a whole new direction, much like they're doing with The Witcher, potentially with The Witcher 4. It would have to be like a whole.
There is
like I said,
actually a
whole
trailer
new
out
storyline.
there already. It's
Kingdom
been
Hearts
announced.
4 was
Kingdom
announced.
Hearts 4 is happening. Kingdom
Yeah.
Hearts 4 is
it's
happening.
So that would be about the
the
only
one
thing
thing-
I would possibly hope for at this at the showcase.
The thing that I did come across though as well, it did add on that PSVR 2 games from development around the world are going to be in. Of course, we do know that PSVR 2, they're still trying to push it, even though it's
Yeah,
sitting
please
on
buy
the shelves
this.
and they've stopped developing. And they're promising a glimpse of several new creations from its first-party studios, as well as titles from third-party developers. And PlayStation, of course, as discussed before, is planning more than 10 live service games that are going to be announced that are going to be single player first party catalog. There's talk of a Horizon multiplayer title, and we're hoping as well that there's actually going to be maybe some information as well on Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater as well included with that. So I'm thinking Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater remake and the Silent Hill 2 remake is, I think, going to be the two that we'll see for sure. At least that's my thought pattern.
That's guaranteed. People were
I know
lukewarm
it's
on
a
the
complete
first combat
opposite.
trailer.
I know it's a complete opposite point here, but what did everyone think of the Resident Evil 4 remake when they saw like that? Any thoughts?
I loved the game.
Not the original. I mean, the original was great. That I don't have to hear every 5 seconds. So, but I'm hoping that with the new RE4, the remake anyway. Did you guys like it to a certain extent? Is there things you hated about it, or?
Okay, so I've never played the original. I've only played the remake.
Dear God.
Of 4.
Okay.
I absolutely loved it. I couldn't play the original because I couldn't stand the tank controls. And the controls were very, very dated for the time that I tried to play it. That was my issue. So when they brought in the controls from the Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 remakes into Resident Evil 4, I was in.
Yeah.
I bought it day one. But of course, as everyone knows in this group, I am a sucker for pre-orders. I will pre-order everything.
Yeah, figures. Yeah, figures that you'd want to get on that right away. So
Yeah.
yeah.
The other thing as well, kind of PlayStation related, is that Jim Ryan has stepped down as of March 29th, and they are looking for a new CEO. So the new CEO, I believe he's got like a 6-month term or something like that at this point in time. Who knows if
Oh, that's
that's
not
going to be
bad.
extended. So we'll hopefully hear in the next few months who's going to end up taking that role. But it is kind of almost an end to an era there. Jim Ryan held the position from 2019 to 2024, so he only had the position really for 5 years.
Hell of a tenure.
But I feel that the games that were brought in under his watch were great.
Sean Layden was PlayStation. That's the biggest loss I ever had with Sean Layden.
Yeah.
If they need a new CEO and a new set of board members and whatnot, we have a bunch of experienced guys right here.
Dude, we say uneducated take on gaming.
Perfect.
Uneducated
Let me
take.
sit on that.
We're-
Hey,
we're-
what are you guys doing with Twisted Metal? The world
Yeah.
wants it.
Come on.
Oh my
Yeah.
God! Bring
We're
back
gonna
Twisted
take
World
this
wants
company
it.
in a new
Well,
direction.
They canceled it. They canceled it.
Of course he
They
did. Because
canceled Twisted Metal.
they're gonna say
Bring
Horizon
back
multiplayer is gonna
Twisted
save
Metal,
it.
man.
Yeah.
With you, man.
No.
A
Horizon
Yeah.
was
twisted, no.
Concord.
What we need is a Twisted Metal game without live service crap added to it. Like that just kind of
Sure.
ruined things.
Absolutely.
You're preaching
Absolutely.
the wrong guy, man. Make live
Yeah.
service work. I'm in. Playing Helldivers. Live
Yeah.
service works. Live service
Yeah,
can
well,
work.
it works, but I mean, not for like a Twisted Metal game though. I couldn't really see it. Like, it's not Forza, it's not anything
Or
like that.
combat.
So, well, yeah, I know,
Make
but
it
I
work,
mean, like,
man.
as soon as you
They'll
have
make it
live, like, as soon as you have that though, like the live stuff, then it always comes down to like, for if that's the first thing, then there's going to be microtransactions out the balls, so to
Sure.
speak.
Yeah.
So,
Cosmetics.
That's-
You pay for cosmetics all you want. I don't care.
Yeah.
They'll pay to win.
I mean, that's the way things are nowadays, and that's the way things are going to be going forward.
and I mean, unfortunately, that's the case. But I mean, hey, you know what? As long as I mean, with Helldivers too, I mean, you can buy things with the super points, or you can
Super
like
credits,
earn
and you
them.
can farm them. Yeah, you can farm
Yeah.
them.
You can
Yeah.
farm. So at least there's an option. Whereas some live service games are like, hey, buy this, and we'll give you this, and then you're
Look at
like,
you,
okay, and then
Suicide Squad.
There's a free pass to the
yeah.
battle pass. You don't have to buy anything. You're choosing to buy something.
I'm just poking the bear. Okay.
I know, but I'm saying, and the factor is though, is that with the live service game though, a lot of the times it comes down to where are they going to manage it properly? Are they going to be fair about everything? Are they going to basically throw everything down our throats to the point where, hey, we heard your feedback, we're not going to do anything. Please continue to play our game in the meantime. Like, you know, like that's what I worry about.
Or they adapt like live service can. You fail, your community talks, you learn from your community. Keep learning from your community.
No Man's Sky. That's a perfect example.
Yeah,
I mean,
No
it's
Man's Sky was great. Yeah.
Not really a live service, but
No,
it's
but like
an example of an improvement.
Diablo's a paid
Yeah.
game, but they're treating it almost as live service with every season. They
Well, with
listen
how much
every
like
season.
updates they got out of No Man's Sky, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like,
So the next thing that we're talking, since we're kind of also talking about showcases here, we're going to try moving on here a little bit. Is June 10th? There's a Ubisoft Forward. We haven't really discussed what we're doing for that here as of yet. I'm just going to sum it up. That there's
Maverick, hold on, Maverick. I think I know what you're going to do about it. You're going to talk about Assassin's Creed, y'all. We're going to talk about Assassin's Creed. I'm looking at, it's got to be 10 Assassin's Creed games on this list. What a company. Am I right? Ubisoft is really doing it over there.
I was also going to
I
add
heard
that
Assassin's Creed and my ears perked.
I'm going to say we're of course going to see some information on Star Wars Outlaws as well. Like, I mean,
It's not on this list. I mean, there's a lot of Assassin's Creed I'm seeing.
yes, well, of course. That's their bread and butter, really. Let's be honest.
Still? How?
Stop
it, all of you.
I like how they connected
it.
all the lore together. That's the only thing that I really enjoy the most about Assassin's Creed is that yes, there's been tons of like crap that's come out about like Ubisoft with all of the Assassin's Creed things, but I like the whole lore from like where they can literally talk about the beginning of Altair all the way up to like Bathim and everything. You know what I mean? Like there's tons of leeway there where they can go either way, and it's a beautiful story that they've done. I mean, it doesn't matter how many games they churn out. The fact is that I mean,
Madden.
They're
They've
good.
made their own Madden.
Yeah, but with Madden, it's football. With Madden, it's always like, hey, you want to play this?
At least with
Exactly my point. Hey, yo, we got this game with assassins. Yep, every year we have it. Every year. And if the story thread is
that's
we won't see
this year. Creed, no matter how long and how many Assassin's Creed they make, it could always be in a different direction. With Madden, it's like football. Football.
What world am I in? That Assassin's Creed is not.
I mean, I'm kind of with Monster on this one here. If the game didn't have the name Assassin's Creed attached to it, it probably wouldn't sell.
You are making a Star Wars video game, man. Let's focus on that. Assassin's Creed's
Actually,
gotta sit back.
I've got to say that that's the one that I'm looking forward to the most right now. But we also know there is no Assassin's Creed this year, so
Except
and
coming to VR or your phone. Assassin's Creed is
Ubisoft
coming this
Yeah.
year.
Ubisoft
What's
has a lot
that?
to.
You mentioned Assassin's Creed, by the way. Here's a new Assassin's Creed in the meantime while you're waiting.
Yeah.
Ubisoft has also had a lot of issues with their shareholders in the last few years. Last year, they said, we are not turning a profit at all. We are going to focus on getting games out the door next year and get our profit margin back up. Give us 1 year of just crapping the bed and having a loss. We will make up for it for next year. And they were banking on Skull and Bones. What a mistake. So I'm hoping they're able to turn it around, because I
It was
also do
basically
not like to see
Sea of
developers
Thieves with
do that.
extra stabs. That's
Sure.
all it was.
But that being said, they do it's got to be said that they do have shareholders to answer to, and at this point in time too, they announced this week that they've laid off additional 40 people as well at Ubisoft. And this is another thing that we've constantly talked about on this podcast, is job loss every single week, it seems. And unfortunately, that's just the direction that this is going. The gaming community is going. These developers are
The
going.
tech community. This is not just
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
This is the
No,
tech
it's
community.
the whole spiel. It's everything. It can't just be one. Yeah, it's a majority.
It's the entire
Yeah.
They should have
industry.
they should have put out a new Just Dance this year. Profits through the goddamn roof.
Are you sure it's not going to be another Assassin's Creed? No.
Assassin's Creed in Just Dance. Boom, done. There's your Assassin's Creed.
Just Dance. Yeah, yeah.
Could you imagine?
You just made you a mint
I hope that
Ubisoft.
if they ever do that, I really hope that there's not like now Eagle Dive. You're like, oh crap. Like,
Yeah. But I'm hoping that there's more than just Assassin's Creed. I am
There is
excited.
Beyond
What?
Good
There
and Evil
probably
too.
It's not
Where is
coming.
it?
It's not coming.
And it's because of guys like you, Maverick. It's guys like you support the Assassin's Creed machine, where guys like me lose.
at least we're not.
Lose.
Hey, at least we're not supporting the Templars, man. Could you imagine they make a Templar game?
They did.
Basically,
Anyways, moving
it's
on.
called chivalry.
Moving on.
Yeah, chivalry.
Let's get into the bracket here and get March Madness over with. Since we're in April, we should have had this done with in March.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you
Ryder-
very much,
Completely
Ryder,
never.
for coming down and spending Easter with us.
Ryder's just drooling over there. Like, get a keyboard wipe ready, dude. You're like,
Well,
All right, you know what,
the reason
let's-
why we didn't have the podcast last
let's-
week, anyways.
Let's get this one over with. I want to jump right to BioShock and Final Fantasy VII.
Oh,
We're gonna go
right,
right,
out the gate.
right
Right
for
to the
the
big guns.
for the
Oh.
jugular.
Damn.
We're gonna go right for the jugular. Let's get this over with. So I know for a fact, of course, this is Irish Bandit's choice for Final Fantasy VII. Let's
course.
give him the floor first.
Okay.
wait, there's another Assassin's Creed while we're waiting.
God damn it.
Well, let me just start out by saying that when it comes to this particular bracketing, I'm okay with either. I loved BioShock when I played it. You know my love for Final Fantasy VII, all-time favorite game. I've already gone at length about what I love about it, what they could have improved about it over the years.
You went length, but what about girth?
Yeah, well, it's a girthy game too.
There you go.
But yeah, again, great characters. For the time, great graphics. Remake improved on that, but talk about remake. Music, great. Story, great. Like I said, Final Fantasy VII, favorite game, but I'm happy whoever wins this.
Monster, you've got the floor.
I mean, I think everyone's heard our arguments. Every game made it to this point. Both games did, I guess, move the genres they're in. I just enjoy the world that BioShock exists in.
Same.
I think it is actually more interactive experience. Not taking anything away from turn-based games, because I also, let's get real, I love a turn-based RPG.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
there are two things we need to realize here. There's two words that just make everything better. Big Daddy. Let's be real.
hear you.
BioShock.
Like, I mean, for
True.
it's a story-heavy crew. I think BioShock's some of the best game writing in a very long time.
Very
I think
true.
it's hard to
Very
match
true.
up with it, and I think the gameplay adds into it. When they go hand in hand, it's important. But no, I think argument's been clear. I went into this thinking like Final Fantasy VII would get it. I feel strongly that BioShock will not be the level 1 lounge game to win it all. But I do. Having played both Final Fantasy VII, the original, and BioShock, I think BioShock's a better game.
I think Final Fantasy VII is the better game, but
sure.
I love both of them. I love both of them.
Yeah, but which
So
one did you start out playing better though? Like which one did you like first?
Oh,
Was
it's a bad question. He's
Fantasy
going to
VII.
say Final Fantasy.
Not really a bad question because it can go either way. Where yes, it's something that you always loved to play from the beginning, but then there's a new beginning when you first started BioShock where you're like, what the hell is this? And then you get into it and you're like, oh my God, this is fantastic.
And if you look at it this way, I've played Final Fantasy VII 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times maybe.
He's
I've only
played it.
played
He's
BioShock
played it
once.
7 times. He's played it
Yeah.
7 times.
Yeah. I've only played BioShock 1.
Only 7. No. Well, I
See,
mean,
that
yeah,
is-
I guess there's a ton of different ways you can go with like Final Fantasy 7 and whatnot. I guess there was different avenues in that case, but I mean with BioShock, yeah, it was pretty straightforward with the story and whatnot. But I mean, you could always go at it a different way. It wasn't always like the same repetitive thing. If you wanted to do like a mainly a melee like build kind of a thing, you could do it. If you wanted to do mainly powers, you could do it. If you wanted to do like basically anything you wanted to do, really that gave you the option to, you could do it. Whereas Final Fantasy VII was kind of set in stone. It's like, okay, well, it's a turn-based game kind of a thing. Yes, you can use all sorts of things like this, but you could also do specifically things that aren't relative to anything else. So,
Ryder, I'd really like to hear your input on this
I
one.
mean, I know Monster's gonna love me for this because I'm gonna have the hot take here. Materia System's great, man. The Materia System is awesome. I'm a very, very tactical. I'm a very, very tactical person. The amount of combinations that you could do with the Materia System is fantastic, especially once you figure out exactly how it actually works. But I love BioShock though. Like the amount of abilities, the gunplay, the story, the sounds, the music were all fantastic.
Big Daddy.
But then you've got
Big
Barrett,
Daddy.
who's big. He's a daddy.
And a daddy.
And he's got a Gatling gun on his arm.
He's got that daddy energy.
So
Put a suit on him. He's just big daddy.
Yeah, but I mean, like I've played both games. I love both games. If it came down to it, I love the gameplay for both. I love the story for both. I like the music for Final Fantasy VII just a little bit better, and I think that's the tip. That's going to be the tipping point for me, leaning towards Final Fantasy VII.
So, I'm going to say this.
Oh boy.
Final Fantasy VII revolutionized turn-based for the time.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
Hey, let me finish. But BioShock, I can't dispute that at all. Like I've played BioShock. I had a hard time getting into it, but I understand the love for it. I understand the impact it's had for first-person shooters. I understand the flexibility, the story, all of that.
Can you touch
I
base
have
on
to go
a little bit how you can get into it though?
I've got to give it to BioShock. I have to. So,
The tiebreaker.
all right. Yeah.
We're going to
So,
Now, yeah, we're going to the tiebreaker
Canuck.
now. So Canuck,
Canuck,
that's what you get
you
to
gotta-
do.
Well, let's see. I know this sounds dumb as hell because like I'm just the new guy in the sense here, but I mean I loved Final Fantasies always when I like because that was always first, right? That'll always be the first. BioShock came later. But With BioShock, though, I mean, yes, you can have as many Final Fantasies as you want. When you see BioShock, the amount of effort that they also put into those games, where it told a story to the point where it's like it always looped back around, sort of thing. Whereas Final Fantasy VII, sure, you had like the same character names as other things. Like, there's not anybody on this planet, well, I mean, anywhere that has Final Fantasy that doesn't know Sephiroth at this point. I mean, not a lot of people are going to know name like Booker. You say Booker, they're like, who the hell's that? You say Sephiroth, and people pee their pants. So, uh, out of everything, if I'm going by the Final Fantasies, there were a lot with BioShock. Sure, there was a lot of things that revolutionized that whole era as well of going forward with the power system. But with Final Fantasy, I hate to say it, I have to, as much as I love BioShock and Big Daddy, I got to give it to Final Fantasy though, because there were it comes down to the point where there's more ways you can play Final Fantasy that don't get boring. Whereas BioShock, it's like, yeah, you can use this murder of crows power to make people get eaten by birds. But you can also use a rivet gun. Whereas in Final Fantasy, it's like you want to like stack all of these attacks and drop it all on the son of a bitch. Go ahead. You know what I mean? But it was more there's out of everything, sure, the story for both are spectacular. But in the end, I'd say, I mean, Final Fantasy, they went harder at it and they saw better news than BioShock did. I mean, like, the numbers don't lie. I hate to say that. That's what I gotta say.
What game did you have more fun playing? Yourself.
Are we talking about strictly like just Final Fantasy VII
Oh,
or out of
you
all
can
of them?
what game between BioShock and Final Fantasy VII did you enjoy playing more?
I mean, I don't want to turncoat this either because I loved all the BioShocks, but we're strictly talking about
Which game
BioShock.
did you like
And
better?
you know what? It depended on all at the time what I was playing, what I wanted to play. I mean, my brain goes here and there for everything. So, uh, I don't know. I liked Final Fantasy better to an extent. The remake, sure, the original was good. I mean, BioShock was something I never played before. So, I mean, in that aspect, I got to give it's. I think at this point, it's a 50-50 then. If we're really coming down to it, I know the tiebreaker doesn't really help, and that's why you called on me. But
Get the dice. Get the dice.
they're both great games. What do you
Dice.
want from me?
Had one job, Canuck.
Dice.
Now I got to roll the dice.
Well, then let's roll the dice. Let's get
Odds. Odds. Final Fantasy VII. Evens. BioShock. It's 16. BioShock.
Evens win it.
Yeah, BioShock.
I love both
Well,
games,
good
so
run.
I'm not mad at all. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little bit mad, but
well, he's mad, but you know,
I love that, Rob. I love that
I love
passion.
both games. I
Fire.
got to give it to with the BioShock story. It was beautiful how they wrapped it all up with everything. If they made another one, awesome. If they made more remakes, kick ass. Final Fantasy, like, I mean, with 7, the original was great. The remake is good as well. But I mean, going forward, yes, they're going to be making millions of more Final Fantasies. But where do you go in the direction of BioShock? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where else they can touch bases.
We make Judas a completely new game.
Yes. Yes. So, well, that's the thing. It's a completely new game. It's not going to be another BioShock.
It is using that System Shock template. Those
I
plasmids,
guess.
that style of play. Like saying BioShock is just System Shock underwater. Not true.
No,
That's
that's
true.
by far no.
All right, what
Look,
do we got
this-
next on the bracket?
Back it into it.
All right.
Hey, you asked,
so,
man. You asked, and I gave my opinion. So,
Well, BioShock won with the dice roll, so that's what we're going with.
like I said, I'm
Uh,
not mad either or. I love both.
So let's move on to the next bracket. So we've got Super Mario World versus Mass Effect 2. So, Monster, I know that you had, well, both of these on your list, but do you want to start off with Mass Effect 2? Because I know that one's high on your list.
It's high on my list. Let's go with that one.
He's thinking.
I don't
I-
think Super Mario World should be the Mario game that ends up being the Mario game. going down to it.
Well, considering we have another one, another
Yeah.
bracket.
Has anyone here
Like-
played Super Mario Galaxy?
Mhm.
Okay, why not reference from that one then? That's basically the most recent full open world one.
Hey,
I
we picked our favorites.
Listen, yeah, we go favorites, and I love Odyssey and Odyssey 2, or the Super Mario Odyssey, and like Galaxies were both great. Super Mario World, man. 2D platforming is still doing what Super Mario World did.
Super
Still
Mario
the
64.
template.
That's on the
We'll
other
get
side of the
there.
bracket.
It's on the
We'll
other
get to
side of the
that.
bracket. That's why we said I don't know if this is the Mario I'd like to see go forward. As much as I love it, like Super Nintendo is like I'd say the machine I love the most.
Yeah.
But Mass Effect 2 is easily
Yeah.
top 5 video games ever made.
Cream choice, dude.
It's,
You know who I wish was real? I really wish Erdnot Rex was real. I don't know why. Just that guy would be cool to hang out with if he doesn't rip my arms off.
yeah, like that's like again, BioWare peak of their powers. Just really getting it. I'd prefer just Mass Effect 2 from the arguments week after week, those who have stuck with us. The love for Mass Effect 2 is great. It's huge.
Exactly.
And the
Exactly.
plumber, I think the plumber has a better outing in the brackets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
there was definitely a lot there. I'm pretty much right with you on that one, Monster. BioShock, or not BioShock, sorry, BioWare. We're talking about the developer, not the previous game we were talking about. BioWare's storytelling is second to none, basically.
Absolutely.
Not just with Mass Effect games, but with a lot of their games in general. But
figures.
you
Yeah,
know,
they tell a good story.
yeah, I mean, and I loved Super Mario World, like discovering all the little secrets off to the sides, finding all like the secret star levels, going in through the back door to go beat Bowser, things like that. I am on the other side of the fence though, in that I loved Yoshi.
Damn Yoshi, man.
But I mean, when it came down right to it, I mean, I love Super Mario World. I love what it's done for the 2D platforming world. I love what it's done for the speedrunning communities. But the speedrunning communities aren't what I'm a part of. I'm a part of games that I absolutely love. And Mass Effect 2, I just loved just a little bit more than Super Mario World. I mean, hats off to the plumber. The man has done some great things over the years. But when you're pitting these two games together, yeah, no, I gotta lean towards Mass Effect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's give Irish Bandit a shot here to discuss, because I know Super Mario World was on his list.
I think this was actually one of my picks.
We both had it in our games we picked.
Yeah. I've never played Mass Effect 2 or any of the Mass Effect games. I played Super Mario World. Nostalgia for that one. Love the game. Love the graphic for it. Love the music. Love the gameplay. But looks like this is going to be a clean sweep for Mass Effect.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll move on then. I will put Mass Effect then in that bracket, and we will move on. All right. So we've got up next Final Fantasy VIII versus Super Mario 64.
We were just gonna say we're gonna hear about this one.
I haven't played Final Fantasy VIII actually ever, so it has to be Super Mario 64 for me, because I played that religiously as a kid.
And same
Like-
thing for me too. It's
Yeah.
This is the one game where I'm going back to the whole speedrunning community thing, even though I'm not actually a part of it. I've actually tried to
I used to
mimic
like it.
what the speedrunners have actually done in terms of like beating the game in like 20 minutes by using the stair glitches and whatnot. But that being said, the times that I've tried and failed at it, honestly, doing just playing the whole game, the whole 120 star game, that was the way I loved it. I mean, but big kudos to Final Fantasy VIII too, because god damn, there's some good storytelling there too. And I know you guys like
The junction system is awesome. It's just better than the materia system.
It is. It is.
like
I
the
think
it does
more-
system better. Sorry.
I just think it's better for like games where it's like it's a power fantasy. At the end of the day, I think the junction system does
Yeah.
better, and I think too it's Rob had mentioned it when he talked about Final Fantasy VIII last time. You had to work in that system. You really had to
Oh, yeah.
work for it.
Oh yeah.
Well,
you
it's not
do.
a power fantasy; it's a Final Fantasy. But yes,
It's-
no.
Yeah, no, that early level grind, especially when you're trying to take on Ifrit for your
Oh,
CD
absolutely.
for your CD membership or a CD rank, whatever it happens to be. Yeah, man, that was. I spent a lot of hours on that beach trying to draw
Same.
cards for that junctioning system. But damned if it wasn't fun going through all that though. Made it worth it in the end, that's for sure.
So
And then there's me who never even played it, but I've watched plenty of gameplay of it all. So
Final Fantasy VIII is what brought me into RPGs. But I know what Super Mario 64 did. I got to give it to them. That was the reason why I wanted a 64 growing up. I didn't care about any of those other games. That was the reason I wanted a 64.
that's
I've
how it's
still
got to be.
never
Yeah.
played it. I've got to give it to Super Mario 64.
Hell yes.
Irish Bandit, you have anything to add at all?
Nope.
No.
I,
Okay.
I said my piece weeks before with Final Fantasy VIII.
Junction system, baby. Junction system.
I will say I do think it is underrated. It's one of the most underrated Final Fantasies out there.
Yeah.
That I
agree.
can agree with. The junction system was a lot better than what they did in Final Fantasy IX. I'll give it that.
See, and I
So
feel like 9 is that underrated one now. That people are all of a sudden like, we love 9.
Figures
Yeah.
have got to be different. Yeah.
So the next bracket, the original Final Fantasy 1 versus Pokemon Black and White.
Dear God.
I'm gonna have a tough one on this one.
No, you're not.
Well,
All right,
Black and
well,
White.
let's go to Ryder first then.
Oh, I mean, well, I mean, like, here's the thing. I mean, again, we're talking about the original Final Fantasy, which started the blueprint for turn-based RPGs. And what is Pokemon Black and White? A turn-based RPG. So, I mean, like, Pokemon's got one hell of a following worldwide through
When it's Black and
multiple
White.
games.
Set in stone. Yeah.
And that's kind of why I picked this one here. Not only for that particular reason, but one of the main reasons why I picked Black and White was basically the start of the competitive, the competitive scene. It kind of started a little bit before with, I believe it was Emerald. Was it Emerald and Ruby? I think was that set.
Sapphire, Emerald, and Ruby. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of where it kind of started. And then Black and White really kind of took that ball and went with it and basically turned it into, the competitive juggernaut that actually still is going on today. Between card games and things like that. Technically, I guess we don't really count the card games because we were talking about Blue and Red before. They were like the OG Blue and Red. That's kind of where it all started. That's where it all grew up with. But we're also talking about the original.
No.
Well, yeah, but we were also talking about the original Final Fantasy. Like I said, this one, it was the Hail Mary pass from Squaresoft at the time that has turned into what it is today. Pokemon's been around for a long time. Final Fantasy has been around longer. And
that's
Final
probably
Fantasy,
what helped set that in stone eventually too. It's got to be Final Fantasy.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm kind of back where Rob was with the BioShock versus
Seven.
Super Mario versus Final Fantasy VII. I'm good with either one that gets through this because both games, like I said, I grew up playing Final Fantasy. I grew up playing Pokemon. I loved the original Final Fantasy and what it did and what it offered. And again, speedrunning community also a part of that too. Pokemon Black and White, loved what it did, loved the music, loved the gameplay, loved the competitive scene for it. I will defer to Irish Bandit Rob's arguments for Final Fantasy here.
Oh, you don't have to do that. If you will let me go first, I would have just told you I'm conceding Final Fantasy.
What?
Oh no, I wouldn't.
In this case, I wouldn't. If it were
I
up
wouldn't.
against Blue and Red, I would
No.
probably say maybe. But
100%. Yeah, 100% on that.
I think you've got a fighting chance against Black and White.
Black and white, dude, doesn't compare to Final Fantasy original. That I will say, yeah.
Okay, so
Black and white was probably
I'll
based
put
off
in
of before, like later on. That's what helped make that. So
I'll put in my 2 cents here. I know that there's a very large following for Pokemon, and it's really really tough to ignore. But my thought is, what would happen with the development company if Pokemon Black and White wasn't created? What would have happened? They would have made something else. They would have moved on to another project.
Or what would have happened if the original Final
And
Fantasy flopped?
that's exactly where I'm going, because
You know,
like Final
where would
Fantasy,
games be today?
we wouldn't have Square the way that it is today. We wouldn't have Square. It's too much of an impact to ignore in this case. Irish Bandit, I'm siding with you for this. I know you're trying to concede, but you've got my back. I'm backing you up on this one. I'm going Final Fantasy. I have to.
I'll say to Maverick's point, where there'd be no Square, you'd still have Dragon Quest. Maybe Dragon Quest would have been that game, because it
Yeah, but
was
Dragon
out
Quest
before
didn't come out
Final
until
Fantasy.
after.
1986 was Dragon Quest 1.
I'm
1987
pretty
was
sure
Final Fantasy 1.
Dragon Quest was done through Enix,
It's correct. That is
Yeah.
correct.
so
And-
Square
So
would
that
and
would have
Dragon
been
Quest-
pre-merger.
Square trying to chase that, and I think in a way that worked, is the first game where you have control to name your party. Your fantasy, really. Think about being in grade school or being younger, and you're just naming your party your friends. Like, you're going on that
Implementation counts.
adventure, right? Right? Like, before it was even like we have lore or we have characters, it's you doing it. Rob is a party member. Monster's a party member. If you had a girl you had a crush on, you better believe they were getting a name in the party. Like that's just how that worked. I think it was also watching Rob play it. I was watching your remaster playthrough. That I just remember too. I'm like, have fun, because games aren't as difficult as what they were, and I appreciate
Oh God, yeah.
that Final Fantasy makes you work for it. Pokemon is
Oh,
now at a
there's the-
point
yeah.
like Black and White, even OG, you can really get through them.
Black
don't
and
have to
white,
sit and
man.
grind.
Black and white doesn't
You don't
compare
have
though
to
to the
The grind you
like the
have to do,
difficulty. I mean,
and party combinations, yeah. But I mean, you can't ignore like a turn-based RPG with that many playable options in Pokemon. It's
No.
not the one I would pick. But also in terms of like long-lasting final bosses in my brain, Chaos is it. Chaos on an NES,
chaos. Yeah,
have fun. Like, thank God there's these pixel remasters for a new generation to play.
Yeah.
If you put
It
an
has to
NES
be.
in front of them and you're like, go for it. I got you here. Now you face Chaos. And hope the RNG gods are in your favor and Bane doesn't get cast every single time. And it's just, oh, so now what? You're like, you just try again. You work your way back and you try again.
I think the only
I'm also
saving
going to
grace
say,
there-
for the ones on the list, I think the 8 and 16-bit ones mean more to me than any 3D one.
Oh, 1 second here. Sorry.
So I'll say Final Fantasy 1 also.
Yeah, if there's one saving grace that I'd have to give, especially to like especially you say that, you know, stick an NES in front of somebody in the new generation, the one saving grace that they would have is that the CRT screens would be a little bit more durable when you throw your controller at it.
True.
Sorry about that. My phone just went off. My apologies.
That's okay.
No problem. All right, so we're going with Final Fantasy. All right. So
Perfect.
next up is going to be Mass Effect 2 versus BioShock.
Oof.
I didn't see the look
Oh,
on
God.
Monster's face.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
If we're rolling those dice again, no.
No, not yet. I'm enjoying the look on Monster's face that he's being tortured.
That generation of consoles, the 360 and PS3, probably the last chance where like new and original stuff happened. In my opinion,
Yes.
anyway. But I always will put Mass Effect 2 higher than BioShock.
Yep.
and loving
Yep,
them both.
that's
And like, yeah, Mass Effect 2
But
is
BioShock holds a candle in my case as well, but nothing kicks the ass of Mass Effect 2. I will always come back to that. The beautiful, like, even just the music while you were waiting in the main menu, it just, or like in the star map itself, galaxy map, it was great. Like you could literally just leave that on and you had background music that you'd never get old of. You know what I mean? It was just perfect. And like the characters of that game were just chef's kiss, man, like hands down. The gunplay, the gameplay, the continuation of Shepard becoming like, working for Cerberus instead, where like he got a second chance
Spoilers.
at life. Well, it's not, well, yeah, a little like 10 years too late, but I mean, no, but it's like whether you're Fem Shep or like male Commander Shepard, whatever you wanted to be anyway, like you got a second chance to be Commander Shepard. You know what I mean? And you got to play from a different perspective of Cerberus. Like that clandestine kind of like elite group that no one really talked about or knew much about until you got to become a part of it, and then you're like, holy crap, I get to do so much with this. I mean, you're not just a Spectre anymore, like the first human Spectre from Mass Effect 1. You're now part of Cerberus going forward while you're still a Spectre. So it's a whole new front before it got like way off course for other things. So
player choice with real repercussion.
it
And,
was that's the suicide mission in Mass Effect 2. Jesus, you had to play that like you were playing like basically disarming a bomb in a sense, where it was like you cut the wrong chord, you cut the wrong character, or you do the wrong thing, that person dies, you see it happen in the thing, and half your people are cut out. And then when the final battle of stuff goes on at the end, they're not there to help you, and you're missing a key component of your whole roster. You know what I mean? Like whether it's a DLC character or if it's a character that you didn't expect to have added on, or if it was one of the main ones from the main game beforehand. Either way, you're losing. It doesn't matter who it is. You're still losing a key component that's going to save your ass in the long run later on. And it doesn't matter what difficulty you play on, it still matters who you keep and who you lose.
All right,
So
Irish Bandit.
that's
Uh,
my like 10 cents.
Again, I've never played any of the Mass Effect games, but I
Oh,
have played
God.
BioShock. I love BioShock. I got to put my vote behind that one.
See, and I got to put my vote behind BioShock on this one too, particularly. And I know we've had this, not so much an argument, but we've had this discussion in the past where it comes down to story versus gameplay. Love the Mass Effect 2 story. I love the BioShock gameplay just a little bit more. The gunplay in that game is so fantastic and so intense. Like there's like when you're going up against the big daddies, when you're going up against the big daddies, when you're going up against groups of enemies, when you're thrust into a situation where you have to think on the fly, like, okay, like, do I have to cast fire over on these enemies? Do I need to draw these enemies into the pool of water and electrocute them? Like you have to make snap decisions so quickly in that game, whether it's against
And you had to
groups
make
of
sure you weren't
enemies.
caught in the crossfire of it too, though.
Well, exactly that too. So for me, it's BioShock. Basically, the tiebreaker being that I like the gameplay and the gunplay of BioShock a little bit better.
There's a good point again to love them both. Variety of how you get to play BioShock is greater. It is. There is no Rob will play one way, I'll play another. Monty will play another. Granted, most people who play that game for the first time, you better believe you're electrocuting people and hitting them with a wrench.
Yep. I did.
you better believe that's a big part of it.
Figures, yeah, no, figures
Once,
you got to be the wrenchman, yeah.
once it opens and you've realized you're like, oh, this plasmid system really throws some options my way. It's once you get into those harder Big Daddy fights, where you realize you're like, oh, I got to utilize the tools that I have at my disposal. Mass Effect is a great third-person shooter. Limited in
Well, the
scope
one
with
thing
what it
that
does
it has
power-wise.
also that BioShock never had either is the companion system of where it's like you could literally control your own squad, where it was key commonplace. I mean, yeah, you could do that in the first Mass Effect as well, but the second one was great in the factor where you could have them do more commands of where it's like you wanted them to loop around behind the enemy and flank them from the behind while you're shooting them and get them into like a kill switch clause of where it's like both in the middle of each other, you know what I mean? And then it's dead set like that. You had all these different you had all these different classes that you didn't have in the first one. You had also DLC that would add more to that as well, where it opened new options. You could edit like the SSV Normandy better. Like like they remade it for Shepard in a sense, you know what I mean? So then it could be like you could put things in your own cabin as well. Like you would find little things you could buy in the store, and you could change your the music in Commander Shepard's like little room there. You know what I mean? And some of the key components, if you skipped over some of the like the additional people you could recruit, you would miss key points that you could have also moments in the ship with as well. You know, so
yeah,
that's why I like Mass Effect 2 more in that case.
so
It'll
I
always have a
guess I'm
candle in my
gonna
heart.
I guess I'm gonna be the tiebreaker in this case then. Um, so I'm gonna go over my thoughts. So I haven't really played either, and I know I should be ashamed to say that.
What's wrong with you?
Lots of things. We don't have the time for that. Um, so
By the time you explain that, there will be 3 more Assassin's Creeds.
yeah.
But anyway,
So my whole thought pattern is when it comes to these games, I've listened to both arguments, and the thing that sticks out the most for me is it having a consequence. And that's the thing that there's always been. I really enjoy games where there's repercussions for your actions. One of the reasons why I enjoy Witcher 3 as much as I do.
yes.
And the thing is, Mass Effect really is one of the first games that started that.
Right, I gotta be fair before
Yeah,
we cut you off
yeah,
quick before you
yeah.
continue your point. It does exist in Bioshock. You have choices with the little sisters. This does
Yep.
weigh in. Either save or harvest. There's consequences when you play Bioshock. They're not as
But you don't
great in
have to though.
scope. You have to choose one or the other when you play Bioshock. You have to
Well, yeah,
harvest or
yeah,
you
of
have
course,
to
yeah.
save. But you have to choose what you're going to do. Mass Effect
But
scope
having
is bigger on the
Well,
choices
yeah,
you make.
figures in those
and
cases, yeah.
that's the selling feature for me
So both
because
games have consequences, but Mass
I,
Effect 2 had
I
more dire ones.
I understand, and that's where I'm saying for me, my vote is going to go to Mass Effect 2 because of that, because of there being a larger scope, and that's the thing. I enjoy games like that. Like, if you guys have a chance, I wrote a review for Rise of the Ronin. I got that up on my site on Facebook, the new Geek Corner. I had major issues with there being lack of consequences like that. And this is one of the first games that did it right.
Mhm.
And I know how beloved it is. So because of that, I'm going Mass Effect 2. We will see Mass Effect 2 in the final. So the next one. Super Mario 64 versus Final Fantasy.
Oh my god.
Sorry, crap.
Oh
Juggernauts on their
man.
platform.
Two
Oh.
Juggernauts on separate platforms. Yeah, that's kind of it, right? Yeah, I know Super Mario 64 was the one on my list. Yeah, Super Mario 64 was the one on my list, and again, we're talking about the game that we're talking about the game that's pretty much started it all for Square, or started it all again, I guess you could say.
Yep.
Versus Super Mario 64, where 3D platformers, and Monster has said it multiple times over, 3D platformers always go back to this game for the template.
Yep. Pretty much, yep.
And again, same thing. Speedrunning community is a huge one in this one here.
Have there been people speedrunning? I know this sounds really dumb to word this, but I've never seen it. Do people try and speedrun Final Fantasy?
Yes.
Oh,
it has
for
happened.
sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The problem with
That I've
with
never
speedrunning,
seen that, so that's why I asked.
Yeah, the problem with speedrunning Final Fantasy is that the speedrun is basically one path and one path only. It's not like the Dragon Quest games where you can alter your strategy or alter your path based on the seed that you get.
It's too linear. Yeah.
Yeah. with Final Fantasy, I don't believe there was a seeding system put in place for it. I think it's basically
Mm.
everything is basically done on a very specific coded timer
Yeah.
for the speed run. So it's basically you do it one way. If you're off by just a little bit, your entire strategy goes out the window.
Yeah.
An
That
hour
being
and
said-
19 minutes is the fastest Final Fantasy time.
Yeah.
An hour
makes
and
me-
19 minutes.
That makes me
Jesus.
feel evil when I see something like that. An hour.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
Well,
And again,
An hour.
could have been broken. You never know. I don't know if it's glitchless here. Speedrun.com, an hour and 19 minutes.
Chances
That's
it's
insanity.
there's probably a glitch run for that.
It has to be a glitch run because there's no way you
Yeah.
could do that.
I mean,
like
Super Mario
without
64 is
anything.
the same way. Like a glitch run of Super Mario 64 is 20 minutes, and I think you
Yeah.
collect a grand total of 4 stars the entire way through.
Yeah, that's
So
yeah.
it's wild.
There's 120 altogether. Otherwise, right?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. No.
God,
Yeah.
All right, I've said my piece again. I'm good with either one. Final
Same.
Fantasy is
I'm
something I
the same
grew
way.
up with. Super Mario 64 is something that I've enjoyed playing time and time again.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm good. Like Ryder said, I'm good with either one. My case hasn't changed for Final Fantasy. It started it all again for Square.
And it's
I
still
know
going
this is
today.
going to sound bad considering like I'm the guest of the first new thing here, and my first roll of the dice wasn't any good. It was not pleasing to some, but it's all good. But the thing is, though, in the end, I'm gonna have to say we might have to go to the dice again because I love both games. Like I know it sucks to sound, but
I mean,
When
I'm gonna say Super Mario 64. I
Yeah.
think
So
Super
we
Mario
got-
64.
So we got 2 on the fence. We got 1 for Final Fantasy, 1 for Super Mario 64.
no,
Man,
if I had to make a choice, the first game I ever played, I never
So,
played Final Fantasy up until that
I
point.
brought out-
The first
I-
game I
I-
ever played
I brought out
was
the dice.
Super Mario 64. But that's the thing. If I had to actually choose, I never played Final Fantasy up until like later on in my life, except for Super Mario 64 was the one that I originally played before Final Fantasy. So that's the one I'm going with.
You going with Super Mario? Okay.
We can still roll if we have to, but I mean, it's the only one I played first. Was Super
Monster.
Mario 64.
You said Super Mario as well, right?
I gotta go Super Mario 64.
Even though I love
And
both, I gotta go
Ryder
Super Mario
says
64.
Ryder says both.
Well, Ryder was fighting for Super Mario.
yeah, Super
That was
Mario
his
64 was originally on my list. Yeah.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
Okay. I think let's just give it to Super Mario 64.
Yeah.
Under the circumstance, like I'm not gonna roll. I haven't completed either one. We've both
Oh my
said
God.
we've all said enough about it. Also, side note though, Monster has put a challenge out for me here, and I think I want to meet up with him on this one, and we're both going to do it.
I'll do it. One of us is gonna do it. Don't worry.
We are
I'm gonna
going
do
to
it.
play Final Fantasy 1 through 16, all the
Oh,
original games, like the
No
numbered
MMOs.
games.
So 11 and
No.
14 are out. No side stories. No remakes.
Just the
1
original.
through
Just the
16.
OGs.
That's right. I have the
I'm go-
advantage
but then
of
you don't get
playing
to drive
a
a
lot of them
car.
already in my life.
And as I said, I started with 8. So it's a new experience for me. And that was also another challenge that I threw out to the group as well, since we're talking about challenges here. I have challenged everyone in the podcast to pick one game throughout the course of the year to play that's outside of their genre. Something that they've a new genre that they've never played before. I think we'll touch base on that here in the next week or so. Everyone's going to kind of take some time to think that over.
Yeah, it's
So-
gonna be a hard ticket for me on that one.
So
Especially
we'll
for
move.
me as a variety streamer.
So Super Mario 64. This is the final Super Mario 64 versus Mass Effect 2.
Oh God.
All right, Monster. It's come down to this. It's come down to you and me.
I'm down
And
to
unfortunately, Super Mario 64 was also on your list.
I personally think, again, annals of time, everyone's going to look back at. You're going to remember Super Mario 64 over Mass Effect 2.
And that was exactly
And
what my
I
argument was going to be.
absolutely love Mass Effect 2, but I also really love Super Mario 64. That damn plumber, I would
That I
not be
won't argue with
enjoying the
either, yeah.
Galaxies or Odyssey. Even Crashes now. You look at stuff like Ape Escape. Any 3D platformer that jumped in the space, jumped in because of the plumber. Have that template for life. That game is still good to play to this day.
Yeah.
And it's still good to play on a Nintendo 64, which is rare because a lot of those games feel bad now.
No,
Shooters on the
did Donkey
N64 are
Kong.
yeah, like shooters on the 64. When people hold that up, they don't feel good anymore. GoldenEye does not feel good on an N64 anymore.
Not if
Super
you play
Mario
Odd
64
Job.
GoldenEye doesn't even
still
feel
feels
good on the Series X anymore. Come on.
Listen. I know that game
At least
came
they
out
nerfed Odd
later,
Job.
earlier than 2010 for you, Maverick. People hold that dear. Read something to them.
Maybe that should be take up my own challenge. Play something before 2005.
You got
Pong.
some bangers, my friend. There's
Oh,
a lot to
absolutely.
play.
Like
But
Super
I
Mario
would
64.
Mass Effect 2 is important to me, but Super Mario 64.
Yeah,
And that's exactly
that
what my
one I
argument
won't
is too.
argue with at all. Yeah, if it has to come down to the two of them, Mario 64, it just blows it out of the water.
Sorry, like if
Yeah.
we would put Mario Brothers on this list too, there ain't no Final Fantasy without the plumber.
No,
Without the Famicom, without the NES, we're nothing.
Nope.
Nothing. Game
Nope.
boxes in our homes
absolutely
because of
nada.
them.
We'd all be
Nope.
stuck on the Panasonic, or was it Panasonic? No, Magnavox, the
Magnavox.
brown box.
Yeah.
Magnavox. Oh god.
Irish Bandit, did you want to weigh in?
Oh,
Same as anything else. I have fonder memories with Super Mario 64. I've never played Mass Effect 2.
All right,
Super Mario 64.
I think that means we can
that makes
officially
it
crown
official. Super Mario 64 has won our bracket and has completed our March Madness.
In April.
so second would have been Mass Effect 2 though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to be the title.
Yeah.
March Madness is completed. Parentheses in April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rob. I think you just got our new title.
I could help.
All right, so we're going to wrap things up here now. So we'd like to thank you for all tuning in. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And please join us again on the next Level 1 Lounge. And we will continue on with giving you some gaming news here. Going forward, just to let you know, we will be taking a break here in 2 weeks' time for the week of April 20th. Both Monster and I are going to be very busy with work here during that week. So we're going to be taking some time off, and we've discussed that we're going to be taking a break at that point. Of course, you can catch Ryder on his streams, and you're streaming again which days?
Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays are my usual days.
Okay, so of course you can find him on Twitch. Irish Bandit, I know you've got some videos coming up on YouTube. Do you have anything else that you're streaming and have on the go?
Right now, same as always. Mod Mondays on Mondays and Friday Fantasy on Fridays. Go figure.
Perfect.
When's Death Stranding coming back?
Soon.
All right, and Canuck, do you have any platforms you want to pitch at this point, or are you doing any streaming?
No, as of right now, I'm not doing any at the moment. I've just been absolutely swamped with work, so I haven't really had the opportunity to get into more of my streams per se of that. But I do greatly appreciate that you guys allowed me to be a part of your podcast and the whole 9 yards. Like it's a genuine gift to me, and I greatly appreciate it. I thank you, boys. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you. And of course, as we said, Monster's no longer going to be with us at this point. We'll bring him back in maybe for a couple special situations. But of course, you can catch him on In My House Wrestling Podcast. So check
Allow
him
me,
out on
Maverick.
Spotify.
You never want to call my podcast by the right thing. It's the In My House Pro Wrestling Podcast. It's out now. Check it out on Spotify. It's WrestleMania season. I know Rob's excited. Let's get ready. It's a big weekend ahead of us. You can hear all of our god-awful hot takes about what's going to happen this weekend. But thank you. It's been a blast being on the podcast. Getting to know you all is very fun. You all have a supreme love of video games. Thanks again.
Yeah, no problem. And of course, I've got my Facebook page up for geared towards movie and game news and reviews. I'm going to be having a review up here as of this weekend after sometime Saturday for the new Godzilla and Kong movie. And I also just recently posted my Rise of the Ronin review here this morning as well. I do not have any plans for streaming at this point in time. I'm kind of focusing on the review aspect, but I am going to be looking at doing a stream for Stellar Blade on April 26th. So join me for that. Thanks for tuning in. Again, hit that like and subscribe. See you again next week.
Take care, everybody.